Listening Fanfiction presents. It's spelled Traitor, not Traitor, by Jack of All Trades. Narrated for you by Sir Feast, based on the anime series My Hero Academia. Chapter 1. Setting the scene. The door chimed as a new customer timidly stepped through. This one had her hair standing up into antennae like rabbit ears and was wearing a set of overalls with a bunny face on the stomach over a green shirt patterned with carrots. She also could not have been old enough to be in the double digits yet. The shopkeep leaned against the counter as the young girl sidled up and climbed a step stool placed for situations such as this. "Well, hello there, little miss." Freckled cheeks pulled back into a warm smile, green eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "How can I help you today?" The girl twisted her hands together. "The ad in the paper said you can help me with my quirk." "I can indeed." The proprietor motioned to a wall in the shop front that was completely made of glass, showing another room padded with foam on the walls, floor, and roof. "If you'd like to step into that room, you could show me your quirk." "Why do I need to go into the room?" "Well, it's so nobody accidentally hurts anybody else when they show me their quirks. Don't worry, I won't be in there with you. I'll be on this side of the glass like anyone who wanders in will be." "Okay." The little girl shuffled to the door set into the glass and pushed it open before going to the center of the room. "Should I do it now?" she yelled at the glass. The short man strolled out from the counter and gave her a thumbs up. It struck the little girl, now that she could see his whole body, that the man was very young, in fact. A teenager, probably. Regardless, she activated her quirk in the safety of the padded room. The shopkeeper nodded, a hand to his chin and his curly green hair bobbing, as the little girl turned completely inside out. It started at her chest, her ribcage ripping open, then her face and pelvis like a two-way zipper. The ribs led the way, circling to her back as her leg and arm meat folded along their creases. On the chest cavity, which rapidly filled with meat organs, hung like Christmas ornaments. The heart beat on the surface just as comfortably as it had in her chest. Her lungs and diaphragm actually seemed to expand more efficiently without a sheath of meat and bone to constrict them. Miles and miles of intestines circled the girl's body like the world's most macabre skirt. Her head seemed to retain its shape, mostly, instead of looking like it had reversed itself. As the man had witnessed, it simply looked to be sans skin, eyes, and teeth open to the environment, and the whole thing backed by gray matter quivering in the silence of the room. Surprisingly, the proprietor noted, there was not a single drop of blood spilled. "That's great, dear. Can you turn back at will, too?" The befleshed being's vocal cords vibrated an affirmative as she nodded along, too, before the whole grisly process repeated itself. The girl's mouth opened like a snake, and her skull emerged from it like an alien's second mouth. The gray matter sucked itself back through the back of the cranium, and the eyes slotted themselves into place. There were wrenching cracks and a sibilant slithering sound as the girl's bones repositioned themselves and the flesh knitted back together. As a final touch, the clothes the girl had worn exuded from her skin as it revealed itself, keeping her young modesty. "All right, I think I've seen what I need to. Let's go back to the counter, okay?" The girl hummed an affirmative and pulled the glass door open to follow the young man back to the counter. The shock of green hair ducked under the countertop and came back up bearing a hefty binder that he opened to a blank page. "Now, dear, can you tell me the name of your quirk?" "I think I got the gist of what it does when you demonstrated for me." The doctor called it inside out." "How apt," the man muttered, scribbling the name at the top of the page and noting the details of what it did with quick sketches of the results on the page. "Now, if you've come here, you maybe have an idea of what you'd like better?" The girl brightened. "Yeah! I want to be like a bunny! I want to be fuzzy and have big hops and big ears and a twitchy nose, and I want to eat carrots all day!" As though to demonstrate, she began hopping on the balls of her feet with excitement. "Wow!" The man behind the counter laughed. "You sure do know what you want." He began flipping through earlier pages of the binder. "You might have to pick and choose which aspects you want. I'm afraid I don't have a straight-up bunny quirk." I've got quirks that will give you fur, quirks for large ears, and lots of different ways to give you big hops. Say, what do you plan on doing with this quirk? Any plans in mind?
Mm-hmm.
The girl put her hands on the counter.
I'm gonna be a hero. I'm gonna jump on the big guys and save anyone, and I'm gonna be called Wuna Usagi-chan because I'm gonna jump higher than the moon.
Wow, that's a great dream. And I think I have the perfect quirk for you in that case. The man opened a page that showed an androgynous mannequin drawing with kangaroo legs. He smiled sheepishly. I'm afraid it's not quite rabbit legs, but they should give you the hops you're looking for if you train them hard enough. And he winked at the little girl who giggled at his antics. Kangaroo kicks are powerful enough to knock any villain out cold in no time flat.
I love it! Can we do it now?
Of course we can. And you know my price?
A quirk for a quirk. An even trade.
That's right. You're so smart, I'm sure you'll be a great hero. Now, the man strolled out from behind the counter and stood next to the future lunar Usagi. He bowed and held out his hand. May I? The girl put her hand in the man's and immediately fell faint. She steadied herself on the counter as she felt and heard an odd shifting sound from her lower body. Shh, shh. The man holding her hand stroked her hair between the gelled-up ears. It's almost over. Just a few more seconds. There. Go ahead and look down. See Lunar Usagi's debut. The little girl looked down where her overalls felt odd and tight and was delighted to see clawed, fuzzy, digitigrade legs peeking out from oddly bent legs. She tottered down the step stool and took a few laps around the shop, refinding her balance on new legs. Well, how do you feel?
They feel like I fell on the playground and my wigs got hugged and don't want to move, but without the hurting.
And you know what they say when that happens. Just keep walking, it'll come back to you.
I know! Thank you, mister!
It's my pleasure, Lunar Usagi. Now, you better get going. I bet you didn't tell your parents where you were going, did you? The girl had the grace to look abashed before finding her smile again and turning to the door. She paused, hand on the doorknob, before turning back to the man who had returned to his seat behind the counter at the far end of the room.
Mister? Are you gonna be okay with my old quirk?
Oh, don't worry about little old me. The man waved her off. It's not the worst quirk I've gotten over the past few years. The girl nodded solemnly, then exited the shop and ran down the sidewalk before its green facade, passing the sign hung out front. Midoriya's multitudinous quirk emporium. Consultations. Quirkless welcome. Unbeknownst to many who used to know him, Midoriya Izuku is a master of the long con. He was taught by the best, after all. From the day he was registered as Quirkless, he'd been seeing a tutor who had approached him, offering to teach him how to combat quirks without one of his own. Of course, Inko knew about the arrangement. She had made sure the man teaching her son had a spotless record and trustworthy references. What she did not know was that spotless records and references are easy enough to craft, given a few decades with which to work on bleaching out the black marks. It was a very short few years before Izuku's Sensei knew that this quirkless wonder must be made a successor for his analytical mind, his flexible thinking, and his utter devotion to whatever cause he picked up. So he began preparing the young boy to inherit his final power. He knew that his time was fast approaching its end as both himself and his rival power began to stagnate under the weight of age. 5 years were spent by his sensei poisoning Izuku against heroes. He brought together the sprightly young man and the man-child Tomura Shigaraki, abandoned by heroes and society alike for his quirk. Sure enough, under Sensei's careful guidance, Izuku began taking on a more serious mind, acting aloof to heroes and their work. Sensei knew that his successor would not only be inheriting his work, but his business ventures he used to stay afloat as well. And so Izuku began studying business instead of the heroics that he had pined for as a child and pursued in other lives in the multiverse. Then came that fateful day. Sensei had revealed the nature of his quirk to Izuku, all for one. A quirk that let him take the quirks of others and hoard them to himself, or, alternatively, bestow them on others. And upon Midoriya Izuku did Sensei bestow all for one, and all of the quirks he had stockpiled for decades, except for the quirks he needed to see, stay alive, and most importantly, put on a good show for his final showdown with the counterpart to his quirk. One for all. Izuku took all for one, its stolen quirks, and Sensei's business ventures, and disappeared. The villain's alliance was left headless, and no matter how Shigaraki maneuvered without the support of Sensei's vast network of businesses and moles, the villain's alliance could not muster up the strength for any more displays of power, instead moving through the shadows to consolidate power. Their secondary objective: find the man who had been promised to bring them to new heights and cast down the heroes and make him pay for his betrayal. But this is not their story. Not entirely. No, this is the story of a small business that had opened up in a discreet shopping district in the middle of the city. A small, green-fronted store with a modest sign espousing its name and vocation. The last refuge of Midoriya Izuku and his mother, away from those who would search for them and drag them back into the public eye.